What's up, guys? This is the Philosophical Doom, Mary Kay Luclinia, and what I wanted to talk about today is the bastardization of the social constructs in a post-industrial society, and basically, it seems like all the social constructs that the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Mesopotamians, like all these social constructs that they developed, you know what I'm saying, and have been in various different cultures have been developing over the centuries. It seems like once they once they become a post-industrial society, or a post-industrial society gets these concepts, they pretty much like bastard, like they pretty much like they 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 take away the they take away the virtue, or they take away the essential benefits that social construct was created to provide that society. Like, for example, like the Olympics, like in ancient Greece, you know what I'm saying? Specifically the Athenians. Let's take the Athenians for example. Like like the Athenians, they had the Olympics, but like the Olympics, like any citizen in that polis in Athens can participate in the um, Olympics. You know what I'm saying? And it was pretty much the Athenian or the Greek idea was that fight that life is a fight for territory. Life is about survival. Life is about a fight for territory. And if you're not ready to fight, you know what I'm saying? If you're not ready to fight to live, you need to get out the way. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But and that's what the Olympics was about. You know what I'm saying? It was about your average everyday Joe, or even your below average everyday Joe, getting into the Olympics and trying their best. The Athenians, they would take the two oldest men in Athens and they would have them race each other to see who was the fastest oldest man in Athens. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't about taking the best. It was about each and every individual doing their best, bringing the best out of each and every individual. And you know what I'm saying? Like we took it, and like post industrial societies in general, we took it and we commercialized it. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the Olympics. Is not about each and every person doing their best, or the average Joe doing their best. It's about taking the top athletes in the world. You know what I'm saying, and having them race each other, and you know what I'm saying, and in different countries, kind of like showing their strength through their athletes or whatever like that. It kind of became even more political. I'm pretty sure it probably was a little political um, in ancient Greece or in Athens or whatever like that, but it became even more political. Um, like another thing that has been like bastardized by the post-industrial society is education. Like education back then in like ancient Rome or ancient Greece, you know what I'm saying? It was about developing your character. It was about becoming, you know what I'm saying, a better person, a better member of society. And the writing, the mathematics, those were just tools, you know what I'm saying, to make you a better person. They were just kind of like a roadmap to get there, but the ultimate goal was to become a better person, like Socrates says. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no true education. You know what I'm saying? So education in the ancient world was about becoming a better person. You know what I'm saying? But again, the post-industrial society, we commercialized it. You know what I'm saying? So now, you know, um, you know, going to school and getting an education, you know what I'm saying, is all about, getting that degree and coming out and having better opportunities, in the workforce, right? And that doesn't even work anymore, because everybody got degrees, but that's not the point. The point is, you know what I'm saying, it's like they're not seeking an education to become a better person, you know what I'm saying, or to learn more about themselves. They're seeking an education, you know what I'm saying, for better economic opportunities. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the point of education. The point of education, the social construct, you know what I'm saying, of education is to make you a better person. You know what I'm saying? It's so you as it was about your own self development as an individual, understanding the world. You know what I'm saying? And then bringing that understanding of the world back to your society. You know what I'm saying? And using that to benefit society. You know what I'm saying? Becoming a productive member of society. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a true, you know what I'm saying, education was about in the ancient world. But the post-industrial society is kind of like, it's kind of like pretty much took that concept and bastardized it. Um, right, another social construct that's been bastardized by the post-industrial society is language. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole point of language, the point of that social construct, and the reason why we made it up was to communicate with each other, to communicate, you know what I'm saying, ideas um, with one another. And it's like the whole idea has been like, I mean, you know, human beings throughout the centuries, you know, we communicated in various ways through symbols or jewelry, or it was many different methods of communication. And now with advanced technology, we have even more ways to communicate with each other. But like the communication is not necessarily is not necessarily benefiting the people who are communicating or benefiting society as a whole. It's like what's being communicated and what's being said is it's junk. You know, it's trash. It doesn't, you know, it's drama. It's not benefiting anybody. You know what I'm saying? If anything, it's tearing people down. It's pushing people apart. You know, further away from each other. It's this. You know, the language is supposed to connect people. You know what I'm saying? But the language it's trash. You know what I'm saying? It's doing the opposite. It's not connecting people. It's disconnecting people. It's separating people. Um, Another social construct that's not working is marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like marriage is not working. Like the whole point of the social construct of marriage is so you won't have, you know, people basically going around sleeping with one another or whatever like that. You know, you have a mate, you have a partner. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be with that mate and you're supposed to be with that partner. You can't run a functioning society if you have everybody sleeping around with one another. And of that was the point of the social construct or the social institution. You know what I'm saying, of marriage. And now in the post-industrial society, and you know what I'm saying, it's, you know, like marriage really doesn't have that much significance anymore. You know what I'm saying? And people, you know, you'll run into a whole lot of people that really don't want to get married because it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? It does not work. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why it's not working is because, you know, it like all these different social constructs that were created kind of, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say a system, but I would kind of say that they all kind of, they're interrelated. You know what I'm saying? So if one is affected, they all kind of get affected in a way. It's kind of like a domino effect. You know, one is kind of affecting the other. You know what I'm saying? And is affecting it's and you can see the effects because like society is not working. Society is not working, and the reason why society is not working is because a lot of these social constructs are being misused. You know what I'm saying? They've lost their true value because they've been bastardized. You know what I'm saying? And they're being used, you know what I'm saying, or being thought of, they're being used in correct ways. And the reason why they're being used in correct ways because they're being thought of in correct ways, like the whole thing with marriage. Like a lot of people think you know, you get married, like you get married because you love someone. No, like, you know what I'm saying, you get married to build and create families. You know, family is another social institution, and you can see how that's falling apart. You have more and more families. Well, families been dysfunctional, but you have like the family is dying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the family is becoming non-existent in our society. People are becoming more separated. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? The family, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even say there is a family anymore. But like you can pretty much see, you know, some people will still argue like the family is still around or whatever like that, but you can see that slowly deteriorating, you know what I'm saying, or kind of like fading away, you know what I'm saying, as technology advances. And um, the integrity of these social institutions or social constructs, you know what I'm saying, continue to dwindle or continue to decline, right? And this also affects the social construct or the social institution of religion. You know what I'm saying? Like today, people are like way less religious. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people still believe in God, but they're like there was a point in time in a lot of post-industrial societies, people were mainly Christian. You know what I'm saying? But people, they say they're Christian, or people don't even really say they're Christian um, anymore. You know what I'm saying? They say they believe in God or they believe in a higher power, and they kind of jump into like this whole like spirituality thing, but they're not necessarily Christian. They're not necessarily like Muslim. Like polarity is like gone. You know what I'm saying? Everything is kind of like ambiguous, kind of. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, and people are open minded, which is good, but they're not really religious. And religion, like I was in shout out to Sloth. You know what I'm saying? I was in Sloth's live stream, and Sloth was kind of getting mad because the guy in the live stream was pretty much he was going back and forth with a guy in a live stream about God and why God put us here, and why would God put us through this torment or whatever like that. And I used to get mad at religious people too when they try to like put their beliefs on me or whatever like that. And I didn't necessarily believe what they believed in, but like I kind of like stopped getting mad at religious people when you look at religion objectively, when you look at religion as a social construct, a social institution that society needs. Like, believe it or not, you may not believe in religion or you may not believe in God, you may be a complete atheist, but society, you know what I'm saying, in terms of functionalism, right, needs religion, right? Because when you look at any society, when you look at any people, when you look at any culture, you know what I'm saying, their moral values and their perspective of the world, their outlook on the world, it mainly comes from their religion. You know what I'm saying? So religion is a very important social institution, you know what I'm saying, to society, because a lot of those people's morals come out of their religion, and their actions of their gods or deities or fairies or whatever they believe in. You know what I'm saying? And we're kind of losing. Well, and I believe this is just like a speculation. You know what I'm saying? All this is really like a speculation from what I'm seeing. I'm no expert or anything like that, but from what I'm seeing, like society is kind of like losing its morals, or how can I wouldn't even say losing its morals, because civilization or society has always been like moralist. They just been like pretty much hiding it or using religion to hide it or whatever like that, kind of like throwing rocks and like hiding their hands. But um the attitude or the approach is more, the ruthlessness is more out in the open, you know what I'm saying, instead of behind closed doors. They kind of have no um like the loss of, I would say the there's no shame in um there's no shame in losing kind of like public face for doing something. How can I say this? The way I'm going about this is wrong. Um, like the things you did back in like the 1940s. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you would have did like the things you did, like if you would have did the things you did today back in the 1940s or 1930s, like you would be shamed. You would lose public face, and it's not the same today, and that's understandable because times do change. Like things change in time. But what I'm saying is, back then, back in the 1940s and 30s, we were a more religious society. You know what I'm saying? So religious were so, if you had a kid out of wedlock or whatever like that, your community would your community will pretty much like banish you or like discard you or whatever like that. And you had a whole lot of situations of young women, you know what I'm saying, getting pregnant by men who were in the army, partying that night or whatever like that, and hooking up with men that were in the army and getting pregnant, and pretty much their mother would have to lie and say that, that was their baby, that was their baby, but in truth, that was their daughter baby, right? And the reason why they had to lie was because they didn't want their daughter to be, pretty much ostracized from the community. You had a whole bunch of situations like that, but um, my point is, like it was a more, I guess, how can I say it? Like we cared about being publicly moral, right? Because I mean, like I said, that like the immorality was always there, so we cared more about being like publicly moral. You know what I'm saying? Or acting like we were moral, in public eye. You know what I'm saying? Back in those days, where now, right, you can see that people aren't as religious and we're a less religious society, and people are just more comfortable with being ruthless out in the open. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have like, guys like King Vaughn or whatever like that. Like you get praised for being an annihilator. You know what I'm saying? You get praised for, taking somebody's life. You get praised for, immorality. You know what I'm saying? Like people praise that. They do. Um, you know what I'm saying? And you can kind of, I'm pretty much like drawing a comparison that like you see the decline in, religious moral virtue, and then right you see a rise in immorality. And my whole point is that religion, what I'm saying, is a necessary, institution or social construct for society. You know what I'm saying? You may not agree with it, but we do need religion. We do. You know what I'm saying? People need a moral compass. Um, or they're going to run around and they're going to run around and do whatever they want to do, even though they already do. But religion, in the way um, religion kind of like in a way it it sets those limitations. You know what I'm saying? It sets those limitations. Um, it sets those limitations because religion kind of gives you it gives you a template for a moral compass, even though your natural moral compass may be different, or jaded. It gives you a moral compass, and it kind of put limits on people. So, if somebody thinks about doing something terrible or whatever like that, if they've already been programmed with that religious moral compass, they'll think twice about doing it, or at least feel guilty about doing it. Um, if whatever they're doing is not benefiting society, or if it's hurting another person, or something along those lines, or whatever like that. Having that religious template. You know what I'm saying? It can put limits on people, and it can put limits on people. Like for example, like the way I'm explaining that is probably like terrible. Like for example, I don't know how true this is, but like if you watch the Netflix series, the Central Park Five, and pretty much you had like these five. It was you had these five black kids like in the '70s. They pretty much got like a whole crime, but they pretty much got accused for raping, what I'm saying, a lady, and beating her up real bad, and like they like the cops or whatever like that, they pinned the whole thing on them, and they didn't have any evidence or anything like that. And um, just to make the long story short, um, the guy who actually did it, what I'm saying, who was pretty much infamous for doing that at that time. The guy was like a psycho. They couldn't catch him or whatever like that. He did that to that lady, but this guy was like a devout believer in Christ. He was kind of like a devout, somewhat of like a Christian or whatever like that. And what I'm saying, even though he had these thoughts and these fantasies about doing certain things to women, what I'm saying, he still believed in Christ or whatever like that. He wanted to repent, and he wanted to become a better person, and he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he actually turned himself in. What I'm saying, he actually turned himself in and said, pretty much like, I was the one who did that to that woman. And pretty much long story short, they were able to verify the DNA or whatever like that, and they were able to let the Central Five guys, the guys that were still in prison from that incident, they were able to let them go. But I say all this to say that, what if there was no religion? What if that guy didn't already kind of had that programming? You know what I'm saying? From religion, he would have never did that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, even though people do bad stuff, you know what I'm saying? Religion kind of gives that moral compass, that template, that kind of that direction. Even if it's made up, you know what I'm saying? It still gives a sense of direction, and it still gives an idea of how people are supposed to treat people, even if people don't do that. So, um, and to end this video, I'm going to end this video with this. Every generation is the product of the social constructs or the social institutions that socialize them or program them into society.